All right, welcome on into the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Charlie Turner, Chris DiCarlo, John Restaino, all here with you, gentlemen. We are in the we were in the month of April last week, but we're still in the month of April now. And hey, Western New York, whenever we can see the sun, that's a good thing. And we are seeing the sun finally for the first time in like 2 months. But
Yeah.
on today's show, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I think there's no rain in sight this week, I saw, so that's a plus.
Hey, man, we'll take whatever we could get. No earthquakes or anything weird like that either, so that's good.
Right.
And it will be on today's show. We'll be recapping WrestleMania a little bit later, and we got some other stuff as well, the Sheik tweets and clips as well. But we're going to be welcoming back a return guest as we go back north of the border once again, as we stay in Canada for this week's show, which is great with us because we love Canada. No hate there with our Canadian friends. And Chris, go ahead and introduce our return guest.
Yes, again, making his second appearance in a short time, our great friend from Manitoba, Canada, wrestling historian, Mr. Wes Maidment. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be with you again. It's fantastic to be coming back on and enjoying your show with you. And great to meet you, Charlie, for the first time. So it's going to be fun, exciting. I can't wait to see what we're going to talk about. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wes, welcome on in, man. Welcome back, I should say. And yeah, first time I was able to sit in with you, or I wasn't able to sit in with you, and now I get to this time. So that's awesome. And, we talk a lot of classic wrestling here on the show. So we'll get into some classic wrestling. And I don't want to start out on a somber note, but we did lose one of the legends of wrestling this week. Bushwhacker Butch from the Bushwhackers, the Sheep Herders from back in the day. Again, just one of like the legends of wrestling that was through that golden era of the WWF. Quick little story on that. I got to sit through a TV taping back in 1990. Ended up with second row seats. Was down in Tampa, Florida, and walked into the building. Didn't realize they were recording for Superstars that week. So you see the banners, and as a kid, I'm like 12 years old, going nuts. Like, oh my God, they're recording for TV. So again, we're in the second row, and before the Bushwhackers came out, the cameraman threw a T-shirt at me. He said, "Put this on. I'll put you on camera. Just do all this stuff." I said, "Okay." So me and like all these other kids, there's probably about 10 of us. We're all on the camera doing the whole Bushwhacker thing, and it was really cool. And of course, those guys come by and they're licking people and they're licking the ref and their opponents. They were very unique. But yeah, Bushwhacker Butch, rest in peace. And Wes, did you have any thoughts on him and any experiences with him personally?
I think it's sad when our legends of our youth are passing, and that could be any sport or any medium, right? Like movie stars or recording artists. And it's kind of sad that we know what's going to happen, but you forget for a second, and then you hear this tragic news, and it was really tragic last weekend to read about this. Those guys were absolutely, they portrayed themselves in the WWF as goofy, but I like to think of them as more of a crazy, and they were crazy. I remember them from when they first came to Canada, like in the early 70s with Grand Prix Wrestling out of Montreal. They were the Kiwis. And then they migrated to Calgary and then Vancouver, where they just hit gold. And that was the start of them being really, really famous. And some of the matches, I don't know if you guys have seen any of the matches, the barbed wire stuff they did in Texas and stuff like that for, I guess, West, just crazy. They were not big guys, but they were talented and they know how to put on a show. They were fantastic. I did see him in Guelph, Ontario, on a show, and it was a few years ago. It was a tiny bit comedy. There was no no big backflips or anything, but yeah, it's great to have been able to see someone like that. Unfortunately past their prime, but still a lot of fun, great talent. And so sad when, especially Snap Bang, we just heard about it, like Bang done.
Yeah, it's like I gotta say, like, yeah, to me, the Kiwi the sheep herders throughout Florida in the early 80s, and they were all over. So to me, that they go to WWF, and like say, McMahon unfortunately kind of ruins a lot of people, and to me, he ruined them with the Bushwhackers. Yeah, it was fun and laughable, but that team was a team.
Yeah. But on the same note, we've made this point on Facebook over the last many, many, many years. Given you're 42 years old, you've been wrestling since you were 18, you could be doing the backwater shows, and someone says, here's a golden ticket. Would you not sign up?
Right.
Would you not do that? Like,
absolutely
100%. We get to take that as it was. Yes, it was goofy and everything, Chris. I agree 1,000%. But man, oh man, I do that for the rest of my days too, licking people. Gee, you just imagine the money. Those guys probably made more money in the short run that they had in the WWF than they did their whole career.
And the whole career, right? Exactly. We touched on that with Mr. Jacques Rougeau, right, Charlie, about his experience with the Bushwhackers. The whole deal that they did. But Wes, real quick, I got that clip. I know what you're talking about. Remember the clip with the Bushwhacker against Piper and Martel there on All-Star Wrestling, where Piper smashed the beer bottle and the Bushwhacker chewed the glass right out of the bottle. It was crazy.
They were performers for sure. And like I said, they weren't big guys, but it's strange to see how sometimes not that 6'4" guy, but just the regular 5'8" guy is bigger than life.
Yes. Yeah, and like you said too, all the merchandise that comes with it, with the WWF at the time, and that's the thing too. WWF had its cheesiness to it back in that golden era, so they kind of fit perfect when they did do the whole arm thing and the pit stop. They'd throw somebody's face into one of their armpits, and then the action figures came out. Even the action figures, the later ones, the Hasbro ones, you could do this with the arms.
Yeah.
Really, really cool stuff. And then, speaking of legends, Wes, some of the names that went into the WWE Hall of Fame, one of them being the Great Muta, which is, man, that guy, when you go back and look at some of his matches, such a unique personality and wrestler. Any thoughts on the Great Muta?
I think I saw him at that card that some of us might have attended in Buffalo, New York. The
cool.
Terry Funk, Ric Flair, I Quit match. I think he was on that card. And you see some of these people on TV and you think, yeah, we're not believing it, but it just seems surreal. And then you see some of these guys live, and another guy who was not overly big, but was phenomenal in the ring. That's a lot of the Japanese guys are. They're just the technique and the training to do what they do, and it coming from a different mindset altogether in Japan, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we were talking about the infamous, or I guess famous maybe, the Green Mist, which a lot of wrestlers, Asuka being the current wrestler that uses it, and there might be others. We're always, it was always kind of a cool thing with that Green Mist. There's always like a mystery. Then we find out, well, it's just food coloring, but for them to be able to I don't know, what do? Do they hold it the whole match, and then like towards the end they're able to just kind of keep it tucked behind a tooth or something? I don't even know how that works.
Or in the tights and in a corner like this kind of thing.
I could never figure it out. And they say that some of the guys used to hold their blade in their mouth the whole match until they needed it.
Wow. Yeah.
Man.
I saw Kabuki. I think it was Kabuki and Jimmy Valiant in Toronto a few times, and and I think Jay Youngblood too. And they blew it. They blew the Mist like at the end of the match. How do you? I didn't see you reaching in the trunks.
Right.
Oh my God. Let alone, how can you hold that in your mouth and like this?
Right. Yeah. I'd be nervous the whole match. Yeah. Forget that.
On a side note,
green.
Yeah.
I mean, on a side note, think about 1991 when Steamboat came back to the WWF for a couple of months and they made him blow the fire. Right. He had that liquid that would probably burn your insides if you swallowed it, and to blow on the fire to make it like that, right? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
coloring.
what was he doing? Like drinking a mouthful of like kerosene or something, or
Naphtha or God knows what. Yeah.
oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a good
Anyway,
point there too, Chris.
got to ask John's input there on the sheep herders, bushwhackers.
Well, if my wife was here, she'd tell you that at the Niagara Falls Convention Center, they when she was probably 10 or whatever, 11, they licked her head, and yeah, no, she was a big fan, so that was a big, I love it all. I mean, I loved every bit of it. I love the characters. I agree with Wes and all you guys, but I mean, like, just it's really nice that they got to make money, and it didn't matter. I mean, they deserve it. They all deserve. Some of those guys didn't get to make, you know what I mean? Some of them got nothing. Yeah. And so cool. I love them, man. I love the whole thing.
Absolutely, man. There's something about that era, and what something we were talking about before we started recording for the show here. Something we were talking about before off the air was I was mentioning about Bret Hart, and he was talking about a lot of today's wrestlers with the high flying moves and all that sort of thing. I know you don't really watch a lot of current wrestling, Wes. We were talking about that as well, but just your thoughts on, if you have any, on like today's wrestling compared to the era we're talking about, like the 80s and the 90s. Do you feel like it's, you talk about the Bushwhackers being smaller guys. It's like nowadays, there's a lot of small guys, Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin and AEW, for example, and Bryan Danielson. They're not huge guys, but they're high flyers. Not that the Bushwhackers were, but they made it work. But do you agree or disagree with Bret Hart that there's maybe just too much of it, that they maybe need to pull it back a little bit with some of the high flying stuff?
I love the high flying stuff. It's great to see. Now I think whereas say Killer Kowalski and Pat O'Connor, if you're gonna just pull two names out of a hat, they had their moves. They could do whatever they did, but they actually told a story in the ring. And I'm not knocking anybody because they're doing what I've never done, so I give them kudos. And to be the physical specimens that they are, to be able to do the stuff that they're doing now, 1,000% credit also. But on the same note, if you're just doing moves for the sake of doing moves and they're not telling a story in the ring, they're just not. And
right,
the entrances are too. I could go on. I'm not going to, but yeah.
You know what I miss? I miss, and I say this every freaking show, so I'm just like broken record, is I miss managers. I truly miss them.
Yeah.
I really like when I see Paul Heyman, I'm very happy, but there's none, and there should be. That was such a big deal. And I think people still today would like all the same stuff. I really do. Why wouldn't you? It would be cool. I mean, all of that, the interviews, the whole, you don't even see it like that anymore, but I miss managers. And masked wrestlers too. I miss them.
Yes.
It just, there's so much there that we as four guys like from that era, that if we had the money, we could make it work. Like we could make it work because we'd have, yes, you're going to have meetings upon meetings and talk about this. And well, we need a mask guy. We need a good mask guy. We need a bad mask guy. We need a tall guy. We need a short guy. We need a chubby guy. We need, we don't need everything in our stable to be high flyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the Japanese stars like Mr. Fuji, Saito, we can go on and on. I mean, it's just not the same anymore.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do, right?
Well, I wonder sometimes if we can't because of social media. Like I wonder sometimes, like, remember we had an Iranian wrestler that everyone hated. We had you have a Russian, whatever we have. And how am I going to put this? I think sometimes we used to be able to make fun of ourselves and it was okay.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know what I mean? Like some of it was funny. Yeah. And I think, I don't know. I think sometimes maybe our world won't accept what we used to. I mean, not that we liked bad things. I don't think we did. I think it was all in good fun and what it was, the show.
Well, you take like what, to your point there, John, like take Sergeant Slaughter, for example, right? Like he did the whole turn on the USA thing and he was teaming up with the Iraqis and everything. Would that even fly today? Like, can you imagine like Nikolai Volkov today and then like somebody joining a faction and creating like a Russian team with all the stuff going on in the world, and then with social media on top of it, it would be
incredible.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do.
Definitely homogenized. Our lives are homogenized because of social media. Politics aside from yours and mine, Canadian and American, we've just grown to be so soft.
Yes.
Mentally when it comes to that, and it's a different world, so that wouldn't make any difference whether we were soft or not. It is a different world. You can't do the Russian thing, Charlie. We can't. And
No.
it's sad because that's what was
Pro wrestling was.
Wrestling forever.
Right.
In every territory, that's what pro wrestling was for 20, 30 years. I mean,
and that's the thing with it too, is it was so believable. Like, I've watched some of these documentaries, these tales from the territories, and when they talk about some of the territory days, where some of these guys, like Andy Kaufman, for example, he came in, he was beating up females, and then Jerry Lawler finally confronted him. But people were so hungry for a guy to come up, an actual wrestler to come in and kick his ass, because he was going up against women the whole time and beating women, and it was so believable, and you just. It was so easy to get, engulfed in it because it was just so much fun. But yeah, you're right. I mean, today there'd be no way they'd be able to get away with some of that stuff.
There's been Russians, whether they were real Russians or not, in professional wrestling for 100 years.
Yeah.
You would see a poster, say in Idaho or wherever, that's Ivan Klemenko or Gajenko or whatever. Even just put a bunch of letters together, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's a Russian in our city. He's coming here to wrestle. He's probably going to beat us up. Like, he's good. I bet he's an awful person. He's terrible. He beats his wife. And it's a guy from Spokane, Washington, right? And
yeah, right.
Yeah, well, that's like me, believable, right? You can laugh at me again, right, guys? Like Nikita Koloff laughed at us that we believe into.
Thought he was Russian. Yeah. It's like he was anywhere near Russian. Yeah.
Ivan Koloff. Right, John? Over the years, Mid-Atlantic came out with the red shovel, the whole gimmick.
Yeah.
Spoke Russian. I thought he was Russian. And then you hear him on a shoot interview on YouTube, and he talks, barely hear him. He talks so softly, and you know what I mean? So, yeah, crazy.
It's almost like the Tony Soprano effect. Like, have you ever heard James Gandolfini talking just as James Gandolfini and not Tony Soprano? Like, where'd your New Jersey accent go? Like, this guy sounds weird. Like, what the heck? It's that type of character, where you have the accent, the clothes, the haircut. Very, very interesting. It would be cool to see that today, but again, it would just never fly.
No, it's too bad, because wrestling always was, for me, it was always taking world events and doing stuff with it, and it was pretty cool and stuff. And the hatred, oh my God, the hatred, right, for the Iron Sheik during that time of the Iran hostages. They still were doing it, and the hostages were there. It didn't matter. I don't know. It didn't matter. Maybe everyone realized what it is. It was like going to a movie. You didn't have to get so upset, but like you said, Wes, we're
different world.
What are you going to do? Different world.
We on our podcast and on our Facebook pages, we've come to the realization of using the word, and I despise this word. It's entertainment. It wasn't entertainment when I was a kid. It was real.
Yeah.
I believed it 1,000%. Now I pay my $20 to go to an independent show, or I pay my $20 to go to the movie theater to be entertained. And that's not a bad thing or a good thing. It is what it is. But yeah, right. we believed. We absolutely believed.
Well, we still believe.
Right.
I believe in keeping history alive. That's what I believe in. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but I mean, we believed in the storyline before Flair's last match that, Jeff Jarrett and this and that, and you hate Jeff Jarrett even more than you hated him maybe before. So yeah, but you kind of got to believe into the storylines to get into it.
To a certain degree, you have to.
Yeah.
And that's, one thing that, and this might get scaled back now that Vince McMahon's back in the picture, but one of the things that Triple H did that I was impressed by, his use of social media, because social media, as we're talking about, is a huge part of things now. There's no really surprises anymore, because you're going to find out the rumor somewhere on Twitter or something like that. But Triple H did a great job of, with the return of Bray Wyatt, for example, he was putting QR codes on the screen, so fans would have to scan it, and it would take them to a website, and then they'd get this encrypted message and that sort of thing. And then you saw Dominic Mysterio raiding Rey Mysterio's house on Christmas and beating the crap out of his dad and stuff like that. So I thought that was fun, to use social media in that way. I feel like they don't do that enough.
It has to keep moving forward with the technology. And if you understand that, you move forward. Now, when you talk about technology, and Chris, you're going to jump on this all over the place. what are we doing right now?
Yep.
Something we would have never believed ever.
Right.
We're thousands and thousands of miles apart, and some of your guests might even be 5 time zones apart.
Yeah.
We're discussing what we love on a social media platform that never existed before. It's
mind blowing.
there's no
Pros and cons. Yep.
for me there's nothing better, there's nothing cooler than being able to do this, and I'm blown away by the opportunity and the chance to do what I always wanted to do my whole life. Just didn't dream ever the internet was even going to be a thing.
Right. It gives an opportunity to 3 jabronis like us to put together a wrestling podcast and just shoot the shit about wrestling, which is great for us because it's something to do on a Saturday, you know?
Yeah.
And a year and a half later, think about all the guests we've had on, including
Social media. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, David Crockett. When David Crockett called me,
Like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm still blown away at the fact, right? Because who am I? I'm Joe Schmo.
And so you should have been, yeah, because it's a big deal, but it's important, and it's keeping history alive. Whether that history is last week from WrestleMania or 40 years ago or 50 years ago from another aspect of wrestling history, yeah.
Well, why don't we start getting into that, guys? What we're going to do here, we have 5 clips of classic stuff. We're going to watch the clip, Wes, and then when the clip is over, we're going to talk about it.
Cool.
All right. I don't know what. I just random order. Here they come.
Okay.
All right. Yep. That is not one of the sheep herders there. That is Andre the Giant. In case anybody needed a description, there's no mistaking Andre.
This is basically about Harley Race, but you are right, Charlie.
You're right. Plus the haircut on top of that, his afro he had going. But yeah, the legendary Harley Race, absolutely.
And here's a rare one against Ted DiBiase.
That was before all his money, DiBiase.
Yeah. I mean, just every territory back in the day. So that was basically Harley Race and quite a few rare matches from different territories.
Yeah, Harley Race being described as one of the toughest in wrestling history. That's a subject we love to talk about because you love to hear about how these guys are outside of the ring. In some cases, we always hear about Haku, one of the guys you don't want to mess with. The Barbarian as being another one. Harley Race is always mentioned in that conversation. Wes, did you know of Harley to be just a dude that you don't mess with?
We were talking about on Facebook the other day when Frank Tunney had to tell the Sheik that his time was up in Toronto.
Oh.
And someone asked me, who do you think told the Sheik that you're not longer wanted here? And we went around in circles, and someone said, you know what? I think it was probably Harley Race. And it's like, what? Why would Harley? And then you go, okay, well, Harley was Sam's guy. Frank was Sam's guy. Sam probably told Frank, look, you don't want him here anymore, or whatever the case is. Well, I'm not telling them. Well, let's get Harley to tell him. Because Harley would have had a stake in a lot of these promotions, a little piece or whatever, right? And who's going to mess? Who's going to mess with Harley?
Right.
Mess with Harley. No one's going to mess with Harley. I saw him live only once, and I liked watching him on TV more. And I'm not saying I wasn't a fan. I don't know. I'm not taking anything away from him. He was a great National Wrestling Alliance heavyweight champion for sure. And
Yeah.
seeing the clips from Texas there and St. Louis, he was everywhere, and he had a massive long career. And you cannot deny stardom and star quality if you last that long. And you don't get the belt because you're pretty, right? You don't.
Right.
That was that rare clip I had to throw in there, right? Harley Race against Ted DiBiase. I mean, that
Yes.
was and then St. Louis against David Von Erich, where I thought actually David Von Erich should have had a run with the NWA title in like 83, 84 before, unfortunately, his demise. But
That headbutt. Oh my God.
Wasn't that
Yeah.
awesome? I think you don't see that. You just don't see it. Like out of the blue, and he's down, and you go like, did he just chest bump him or what?
Right.
You know?
headbutts, drop kicks, yeah, we just don't see that anymore. But hey, we can go on and on about that.
The atomic drop. Whatever happened to the atomic drop? I haven't seen that in a while.
Backbreaker, the back suplex, right?
Yeah.
The great Gordon Soley would say, "Here comes
It's not a
the
suplex, it's a suplex.
yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Johnny got more there? More clips?
Yeah, let's
Oh,
do it, John.
Yeah.
Oh, we got like 4 more. Here we go.
Okay.
You have this. I don't need pumps of baloney. I'm all ready. Weather conditions were not the best. It been raining intermittently from 6:30 that evening. This is the final and main event now. The two men being introduced. You were one of the 2 referees.
Is that the Orange Bowl there in Miami?
You are correct, sir. This was a Super Bowl of wrestling from 1978. Champion versus champion. WWF Fair Champion Superstar Billy Graham against NWA Champion Harley Race.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Superstar Billy Graham, send some thoughts and prayers out to him. I know health-wise he hasn't been doing well lately from what I've been reading on the internet, the old Twitter feed there.
Yes.
So thoughts and prayers out to Mr. Superstar Billy Graham.
Another basically title for title, NWA versus AWA this time, but in Japan.
Wow.
A battle of the Ricks, I guess, if you will, right? Rick Martel and Ric Flair.
Absolutely.
This actually was a great match. Japan voiceover aside.
Right.
Now here's a match that is elusive for sure. Wish I could see someday. I don't know if somebody has it or not, but imagine this match, 1982.
Wow.
I'm the NWA heavyweight champion. I say I'm better. He says he's better. The beer still will find out. Well, obviously, this is.
And then, of course, we see the basically world class out of Texas, Kerry Von Erich, and the AWA champion, Jerry Lawler.
Wow. Yeah, Jerry Lawler is one of those guys that I didn't appreciate until later on. Like when he first came to WWF, WWE back in the day, and he showed up on Raw. And I remember, I knew who he was back then. I remember thinking, Jerry Lawler, he's all right. Man, I'll tell you what, without him and at the right-hand side of Jim Ross, one of the best commentary teams of all time, those two guys during the Attitude Era. And then as you kind of look back, as I got older and look back on Jerry Lawler's career, the Andy Kaufman thing, and just the impact he had in pro wrestling, man, what a legend. I mean, all those guys we just showed, but Jerry Lawler I wanted to focus on for a second because I feel like that's a guy I'd never really paid attention to till later on when we started looking back at some of these guys' career. And he also had a recent documentary on A&E, the WWE Legends documentary. And it was an hour show on Jerry Lawler's career. A lot of stuff I didn't realize about him, that just the impact he had in his territory in Memphis there was just unbelievable. He was like the measuring stick, if you will, for that territory when guys came into that area.
For decades, yeah.
So, Wes, those clips were basically, if you didn't get it, title for title unification matches, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Kind of story.
And yeah, I mean that Battle of the Ricks, Rick Martel, Ric Flair, that was actually a good match. I do have it. Of course, it is on YouTube as well if you want to check it out, but a great match. I wish I'd see Flair Backlund match. I heard maybe somebody's got it somewhere, but maybe in the future we'll see it. But basically, title for title. There.
Superstar Billy Graham. I bought a ticket to see him in Toronto, and he didn't appear because he had a leg injury. And I only bought the ticket just to see his entrance and him, because I sort of knew that he wasn't going to do too much other than flop around a lot and kick and stomp and bleed. So, but I loved him. I absolutely loved him. I know relatives on Long Island who used to go to Madison Square Gardens just to see Superstar Graham sell the place out, and they made a massive mistake with him by not turning him babyface. No doubt about it. Again, I think Flair wrestled Backlund in Toronto also.
Probably.
I think they did once. But I was never a Backlund fan, not taking away his status, because he could wrestle. He could. He wasn't Ric Flair, let's put it that way, right?
Right, yeah.
Promotion and everything, right? He's kind of
when he had the WWF title in the 90s there, and then they had Kevin Nash as Diesel at the time. He beat him in like a squash match. And I remember thinking too, because I'm with you, Wes. I mean, like Bob Backlund, he was all right. I mean, I respect his career and everything, and he came into WWE with the crossface chicken wing, and he was putting random people in it, which was funny. But it didn't surprise me when they had Kevin Nash beat him in a squash match. I was like, well, okay, we just kind of rolled with it, and it didn't really surprise me that much.
I was a fan. I am still a fan of Mr. Bob Backlund, and would love to have him on this show.
Oh man, absolutely. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
That clip reminded me of real quick is being a kid and reading the wrestling magazine. And I don't know why it had the same mystique, some of these guys that I didn't get to see because there's no internet, as like when the Soviets came to play in hockey, like you thought they were from Mars. My God, you were like, it was the same thing. And it was so cool. Thank you, Chris. That was a good one. That champion for champion.
The Lake Placid Olympics, right?
Yeah.
The Soviets and the Americans.
Yep. Soviet. Yeah.
So definitely, when you're talking about, Charlie said it too, talking about Lawler, we would have never got to see Lawler because he never even came anywhere near even New York State, right? Never.
Right.
And
right.
All we had was the magazines. That was it. And you just can't grasp what a talent is or isn't by the magazines. Yes, they could write the stories every month. He could be on the cover. It's not going to make any difference. With the internet now, watching his stuff from Memphis, it's unbelievable. Whether he was a face or a heel, I could care less. I could watch Jerry Lawler for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And his rapport with whether he was the black hat or the white hat, his rapport with the announcers, his demeanor in the ring, his just everything. For not a big guy, he was. You can see why he sold out Mid-South for like thousands of shows. Right?
Unbelievable charisma, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, John, let's roll at another one. This basically is about Angelo King Kong Mosca.
For Minneapolis, Minnesota,
that was a original hometown.
Very good.
And then to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, very good.
I find this funny now that they introduced the faces first.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and then the heel. Should have been the other way around. There he is.
Of course, one of our favorites here on the show. Oh no, yeah, it is. I mean, that mustache is still legendary, man. Up there in the Raleigh Fingers category.
Oh, Rolly Fingers! What an awesome mustache.
Yeah.
You basically those clips were of one of our favorites, Angelo King Kong Mosca.
Yes.
What did you think about Mosca, Charlie?
You know, that is the one wrestler I didn't know a ton about, unfortunately, until he passed away and we were doing this show and kind of looking back at his career. He's another guy that I wasn't really 100% familiar with until we started doing this and looking back some of his clips. What an impressive specimen. Again, as they announced him, 301 pounds. Just a big dude that could really move. Very impressive.
Yeah.
You know what I gotta say real quick, John West, which I told Charlie, you think it should have been the other way around. The great Norm Kimber should have introduced the heels first and then the baby face.
Or much more of a pop, yeah.
But still, love it.
Yeah.
Well,
When-
he
go
respected the legend of the Sheik, Bubba. That's why.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Norm, I'm gonna tell you this, man. Probably like in my childhood, there's a voice now as I'm older that stops me in my tracks. It's Norm Kimber will do it. If I hear him, I stop. If I hear that, I'm gonna, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
The guy from Hockey Night in Canada, I think his name was Bill Hewitt and Dave Hodge. When I hear those voices, that's it. It's like I don't care what I'm doing. I could be driving, have to pull over. Norm Kimber was unbelievable to me. I don't know. It was just the voice I remember in my head.
It's like Irv Weinstein for
Yeah.
us. That's
That's
know
right.
where your children are, right? It's 11 o'clock. You know where your children are, and
Yep.
of course there was a fire in North Tonawanda.
Right.
Yeah, Mosca was huge. I just did an article for Pro Wrestling Post on his feud with Peter Maivia in the AWA, and it's just he was so good, and he was around Southern Ontario and well, close to you guys for off and on for his whole career, because he worked for the Wild Man, he worked for Tunney when he was starting out in the early 70s, and fantastic career. Yeah, he wasn't I don't think I've ever saw him do a drop kick or anything, but man, he was powerful. You could see he exuded power. And when he hit you like he did with Henning on the back of the shoulder blades with the double fists, it looked massive, right?
Yeah.
Let alone that move where they're slamming the hand into the turnbuckle. It's looking back now, you go, oh my God, that's so terrible, right? Oh, cut it out. Smart up. Oh, my mom,
Right.
But he was huge, and he did a really good both sides of the fence too. He was great both ways. It didn't change his personality too much, but he was really good on both sides of the ring.
I loved him. Yeah, both sides. I loved him. In Florida, he was great. Just anywhere he was great. Heel or face. I love him to this day too. Right, John?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't believe, it was great. The CFL, all that Hamilton Ticat stuff. It was really cool. I loved it.
All right, we got a couple more.
We sure do. Here we are.
Here we're basically looking at Charlie, a hometown favorite from nearby Buffalo, New York, Dick Beyer, the
Destroyer.
Destroyer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was Dr. X in the early days of the AWA.
Vern Gagne is something else. He looked like my Uncle Sam.
Look at this clip. I thought you'd like this one, John.
Oh, oh my God.
Can you imagine that match?
Dear, poor bear, man. What the fuck?
Oh my God.
I mean, look at the bear.
I feel sorry for the bear. Why are they doing this? The bear
how much
find whoever the promoter wasn't killing.
If PETA would have been all over this today.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the WWF Wildlife Federation would be on us, right?
Right. The real WWF, yeah.
That's the Destroyer. John knows.
Yeah, I had his mask. I bought it out of the magazine.
This is great, man. That's classic footage of this. Then he goes over here, John, right, and berates the announcer.
I love it. Yeah. And instead of there, he should be in the ring, right?
There you go, the masked wrestler, John, right, that we were talking about.
And as you
Yeah, I
get
love
it, as you get that, Wes, Dick Beyer, the intelligent sensational destroyer, but also known as Dr. X in the early days of the AWA.
Sure. I did a deep dive on his career on one of my Facebook pages, going way back to his college in Syracuse or wherever it was, and just posting tons and tons of clips of him growing up through wrestling I think he started with Ed Don George in Buffalo, and then moved on to Pedro Martinez, and then eventually grew in fame beyond Western New York, right? I met him at a couple of the Titans dinners in Toronto, and the last one I was at, he was failing physicality. He was failing, and he was having a hard time getting up from the table, and he was one of the last guys to leave. Like, oh my gosh. And I helped him out to the car with his bag, and his wife was there, and she's like, how do I get back to the hotel? I said, well, where's your hotel? She told me. I told her how to get there, wrote it down on a piece of paper for them. He was so gracious and so nice, still with the mask on, right? And
yes.
really cool guy. But on the same note, man, oh man, he either could do it with his mouth or with his body. And another not a big guy at all. But you figure that masked star for so long, just incredible to be that long lasting, having his mask taken off, maybe not even probably 5 times, I bet, as a destroyer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to meet him personally. He when I did a college radio show back in 2001 at Buff State College, 91.3 FM. We were a little tiny radio station. We started doing a radio show. We got in touch with Dennis DiPaolo, and Dennis, being a local restaurant owner here, he was able to contact Dick the Destroyer at the time, and Dick the Destroyer came in full mask with his wife. Just awesome people. I mean, just so nice for them to come to a college radio station and let us interview him. Was just really, really cool. So I just wanted to mention that story because he was just such a nice guy, and it was just a cool memory for me to be able to experience that.
I'm sure it was.
But another, like you're talking about masks, the story of the mask, the kayfabe, right, Wes, was I heard Mr. Wrestling #2. Even when he met President Carter, the mask was on.
Yeah.
And I never saw his face until he did a shoot interview towards the end of his career with Bill Apter.
Okay, I remember seeing him, knowing who he was.
Johnny Walker.
The difference between Johnny Walker finishing his career being not another big guy, but bald and kind of old looking, to the time when Mr. Wrestling 2 would have taken his mask off. There was like a massive time frame in there, so there was no connection whatsoever for fans, right?
Yeah. I mean, and John, as like me, probably Wes, the intelligent, sensational Super Destroyer was on Maple Leaf Wrestling a bunch.
Yeah,
it was great.
And going against Brito when in International Wrestling from Quebec, and George Cannon and Milta Ruskin there,
George Cannon, the Superstars of Wrestling. I also have that footage. I have a lot of footage, as we know. But what we got? 1, 2 more, John?
The last one.
Well, I was going to say, guys, if you want, do you guys want to do a quick sponsor break here, and then we'll come back to the last clip, and then we'll kind of wrap up with Wes here?
Yeah,
okay.
Sounds good. All right,
Wes, if you don't mind, be like a quick 2-minute break. We'll be right back with you.
Yep.
All right, sounds good, guys.
Yeah, let me find our breaks. Here we go.
Digits 988 can save a life. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, 988 provides connection to free confidential support. There is hope. The Lifeline works. For 24/7 confidential support, just call, text, or chat 988.
All right, welcome back. Falls Count Anywhere podcast with Charlie, Chris, and John, as we were joined with by West. Let me try that again. We are joined by Wes Maidman here, wrestling historian, as we're showing some old school clips here and kind of going over them and getting Wes's thoughts on them. We do have one more clip here, John. I know you have ready to fire up, and we'll get that rolling here.
We're looking at the young eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. But I believe, yes, these clips are basically about the Clawmaster, Baron von Raschke.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God.
Just one of those guys, naturally intimidating, man, Baron von Raschke.
The Baron, all these years.
Oh, look at this guy. Jeez.
Goodbye.
Is that Ponch from
Where did they
Chips?
find? You know. Oh my God. They served. Jesus. They served them up.
Here we go, John.
Really strange to see you guys tagged up as partners, tag team partners. It's hard to go along with. Well, maybe I'd love
He's another one with the German accent that doesn't really have it.
The Baron has a lot of respect
Yeah.
for me, and that's what I can say. It's not as much as I can
The
say
Baron.
about guys like Steamboat and Atlas and on and on and on. Because the Baron respects me for what I am. He's not known, and all the competitors are coming.
There's that voice.
One by one, and they're all falling by the way. You know
What the hell?
Some guys are just born to be pro wrestlers, and you could definitely say that about Baron von Raschke. Oh my gosh.
I love Lord Hayes. Like, look at Von Raschke. Jeez.
Yes. Started out as a manager, right? And manager / wrestler, John, and then commentator in the WWF. But Wes, yeah, basically Baron von Raschke,
Yep.
and all over the territories, and just like Charlie said,
With that claw, you know?
born to be wrestling, right?
Yeah. Ugly as sin, right? Just
Yeah.
ugly. I mean, even when he was a babyface, he was still ugly. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to see him up against, standing beside Paul Jones. Shows how short Paul Jones was and how, like, Von Raschke wasn't really that tall, maybe 6'1" or something, but
He looked huge there, yeah.
he looked absolutely huge. Yeah. I love the first clip from the WWA. I have that on tape where, quote, he couldn't speak English. They took advantage of him. Wilbur Snyder comes in and Heenan grabs a chair. No, Raschke grabs a chair because part of the game is that he's going to grab a chair, hit Snyder over the head so he can get some color, and then they can carry on. And he's pulling a chair out of the audience, and the security guard grabs the chair and won't let him have the chair. So the whole thing's going south quick. So he just runs over, and he just hits him with nothing. And Snyder goes down in a massive heap of red. And then
Yes, that actually was the beginning of that clip, Wes.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It's
I
just so cool to see. I like Andre. I've always liked Andre the Giant, even when he couldn't do anything. Just a phenomenal, one of a kind. Just nothing but. Von Raschke was huge. I saw him wrestle a couple times live, and it was pretty. Yeah, he was okay, but they picked and choose his opponents to make him look good, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, you know what, Charlie, John, let's just roll with our tweets and Jobber, and then we'll thank Wes.
Yeah, Wes, I mean, if you want to hang with us while we do that, if that's up to you, sir. We're gonna run through like some chic tweets that we got for this week and a couple other things. Or if you got to run, we understand that too.
I'm good. I can hang out and listen to you guys talk. Sure.
Awesome. We'd love to get your thoughts as well. So, all right, yeah, very good, Chris. So Wes, definitely, appreciate you sticking around. And of course, we always check in weekly here on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast with the Iron Sheik via his Twitter feed as we do the Sheik tweets here each and every week. The Sheik had some opinions. There's a lot going down in the past week. John, you want to throw one up there? Of course, he did throw out some love there for Bushwhacker Butch, saying, "I love you forever. Rest in peace, my friend. You always make me smile." And that's something we were just talking about, right, guys? Those guys just were so entertaining. Well, Luke is still with us. Butch, being part of the Sheep Herders / Bushwhackers, just so entertaining, those guys, especially as the Bushwhackers, and the Sheik throwing him some love there, his wrestling brother. And giving him some love there. So again, rest in peace to Bushwhacker Butch, who just left us. Now here's a picture here with Roman Reigns, and the Sheik stating that he reminds him of Bruno, Bubba. He the real, like as in Bruno Sammartino, of course. I'll tell you what, this run that he's been on with the title, he's going to be approaching 1,000 days. I thought he was at 1,000 days. He was at 945 going into WrestleMania. I'm assuming they're going to be stretching that out until at least SummerSlam. Well, Wes, I guess let me ask you this: your thoughts on Bruno Sammartino, and do you think Roman Reigns? I know you don't really stay in tune with too much of what's going on with WWE, but do you think anybody can even live up to where Bruno Sammartino was?
Different time, different time zone, different time period, everything. Bruno, I never saw him live. And it would have been amazing to see him at Madison Square Garden, obviously at the height. His just persona that must have reached out and touched every person that was in there. That's one of the things he had. I don't know much about Roman Reigns other than what I've read, and as far as I'm concerned, he deserves it. He deserves it. No one's going to be a Bruno. Number wise, yes, he might hold the title longer than anybody else, or this or that, but. Good for him. He's been around long enough. He's proven himself to be box office worthy to hold the strap. So we got to give him kudos, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fans were frustrated that he didn't lose it on WrestleMania night, but hey, at this point, keep it going. See how long we can keep it going with Roman Reigns as the champion. So I think the longest reign since Hulk Hogan. All right, so this one I found funny because. If you know or don't know, I mean, if you don't know, go ahead and look it up. Or I think there might be books about the sexual activity of Wilt Chamberlain was legendary, and the Sheik calling him out, saying, "Wilt Chamberlain, Bubba, you could have saved some for the rest of us, Bubba." So apparently, we got horny Sheik here that was a little upset with Wilt Chamberlain for stealing all the chicks back in the day.
What can you say? If you followed sports, you know what he was about. Not taking away his talent, because obviously incredible talent. What did he score? Like 111 points in one game or something? Like incredible, right?
Unbelievable. Some people consider it the greatest.
111 points in one game and then score 111 points after the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Very talented.
Very talented.
A good multitasker,
Yeah.
Two sports. Yeah. All right, let's see here. All right, here comes the last one, and of course.
Oh yeah, listen. The Sheik does not go a long period of time. Listen, he's still bitter about 1984, and this one's just plain and simple. Fuck the Hulk Hogan from the Iron Sheik. Randomly at 9:27 p.m. on April 6th, he just felt the need to tell Hogan to fuck off. So I got a good laugh out of that because. Like I said, he doesn't usually go more than like a week to 10 days without bashing the Hulkster, who, of course, he put over for the title all the way back in 1984. Which,
man, keeping that kayfabe, huh?
Yeah, I mean, she claims he started Hulkamania, not Hulk Hogan.
Well,
Hulk has claimed a lot of things too.
Yeah.
Mr. Cornette's proven the few of them wrong, which is
You're right. Yeah, very
I
true.
love that episode was really interesting. Well, he was never in California before 1979 or whatever, right?
Right.
I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that. And, I could have come on the show here and said, well, my empire behind me, I've got 17 trucks outside just waiting. They're all fully loaded, making me gobs and gobs of money. And I haven't been to California in 3 days. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. I was out there for business. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Hulk Hogan's become a polarizing figure later on in his life. Post wrestling. A lot of we were discussing that too. A lot of the newer fans that if they go back and watch some footage, Hogan wasn't a great wrestler, but man, the persona, the personality, the Hulkamania was just running wild in Asia. You kind of had to live through it to know what we're talking about there, because the newer fan might not get it. Probably think, well, no big deal, but back then it was hard to have such an impact.
Jaded fan number one right here, but he bought a ticket.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So
I've been a fan since 1984, and then I got his footage of his earlier stuff. Sterling Golden in '79, Georgia, and his AWA run was just great. And I'm still
definitely a fan of him as a wrestler. Yeah, but the outlandish stuff that happened over time. Yeah, okay, whatever.
A little wild, yeah. He got things
we're
out of
wrestling
control.
fans. Yes, and we have our favorites, and we have guys we aren't our favorites.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you get into the WCW days where he had creative control. I know he pissed a lot of people off in the late '90s. As far as that goes, that we could do a whole other show on that. But, well, guys, this has been awesome, Wes. I mean, it's so great to have you join us, and I had a chance to finally meet you and talk to you on the podcast today. And I understand you have a podcast going as well, correct?
Yes, we do. We've been just over a year now. We've had the National Wrestling Clippings Alliance podcast, which is on our YouTube channel, and it's basically the podcast that focuses on our five Facebook groups. We have the NWCA regular group. We have the Ontario Wrestling Clippings of the Past, the Wildman tribute page, and we just started a Ric Flair tribute page, and we also have a page for British Columbia Wrestling. And my plan is to go right across Canada and feature all the areas and I'm going to take over Facebook wrestling. Let's put it that way.
I love that. Absolutely.
right. Well, we love it, watch it, and we'll support it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I it's just such a pleasure to be able to have a medium where you're just in a community, and it's so awesome to be able to talk about what you love. And I love sharing wrestling history, and it's been a pleasure again coming on with you guys and with you too, Charlie. Thank you so much again. It's been, I love it. I just love doing this. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, Wes. Welcome back anytime, and update us on the podcast that you got going. Anytime you want to come back and join us, you're more than welcome, sir.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me, and I hope you guys have a great long weekend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. The Wes Maidment there joining us, and wrestling historian, and I'm sure his podcast is only going to get bigger and bigger, as we mentioned, with social media allowing us to do this. Very, very cool stuff. So, yeah, guys, we, as we talked about a little bit about Roman Reigns, WrestleMania, real quick, just wanted to mention WrestleMania because I know there was a lot of controversy with the finish of WrestleMania. I'll throw my opinion out there, and I kind of go around to you guys here, but I feel like WWE, they had the perfect opportunity to finally have Roman Reigns lose the belt. They built it up perfectly. Saturday night, you had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn winning the tag team titles off the Usos. So you kind of figure okay, the first pillar is down. Now it's up to Cody to finish it off. And the way that match progressed, Solo Sikoa was out there. He got booted. Then the Usos showed up, but then the new tag champs showed up, Owens and Zayn, and interfered and got in the way of the Usos. And it was beautiful. It was so perfect for Cody Rhodes to win it. All of a sudden, I mean, they could have picked somebody else, but Solo Sikoa comes back, puts the Samoan spike into the neck of Cody Rhodes, match is over, and it was kind of like, what the hell happened? And it kind of deflated the arena. I felt like they had a great opportunity to end the night with fireworks, the crowd going nuts, both belts being lifted up over Cody's head. And then some people have argued, well, he's only been around for 6 months since his pec injury or whatever the case. You got to earn it. I don't know. I feel like they blew it.
Yeah, well, me, I also put something out there on Facebook that was just terrible in my opinion. That's also you not only got your family there too. I mean, if you got your family there, you kind of know something's going on usually. And the Royal Rumble winner usually always wins that title since day one, right?
Yeah.
It didn't happen either. So, Cody should have won it. I don't know why he didn't, even if he held it for a month. Okay. But that was just terrible in my opinion.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I enjoyed the match. That was what got me mad. I enjoyed the whole thing. It reminded me, sometimes we look back and think of things. It reminded me of the old days. It was a great match. And then when that happens, and there's interference. Yeah, I was deflated. I had that same feeling, like what just happened? And
it was a build up to like the end of the movie, and it was almost like the Sopranos finish, right? Everything just went black. Like, what the hell what did I just watch? That's the way it felt. And some of the opinions I've been reading online, they made it to where it wasn't predictable. Everybody was expecting Cody to win, and so this made it unpredictable. Even so, it just felt like the right time. And I feel like now, from watching Raw and SmackDown this past week, it feels like they're stretching it too far with the Bloodline storyline. It just doesn't feel like it has that same appeal now that everything that has happened since WrestleMania. So the other thing too, a quick side note, they're bringing back the WWE draft. So maybe they're going to split the titles once again. Triple H just announced that last night. So and the other factor too is there's strong word now that and another side note, WWE and Endeavor have joined forces. Endeavor spent $9.3 billion to buy WWE and merge with them, if you will. They have a majority of the shares, and they own UFC. So it's going to be UFC, WWE kind of linked together now, and we'll see what direction that goes in. That should be interesting. But it does sound as if Vince McMahon is back in control of creative, which people are kind of questioning. Well, where the hell did Brock Lesnar come from to beat the crap out of Cody Rhodes? Like, how does that even make sense for the end of Raw Monday night? A lot of people scratching their heads. We'll see what happens. I liked the way Triple H was running things, but now with Vince McMahon's influence, it could get wild. We could see just things going in some strange directions. Hopefully not killing the momentum of certain guys like Gunther and Cody Rhodes, which they kind of deflated him a little bit, but we'll see where that goes.
And Gunther should be a future champion.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about that match, that triple threat intercontinental title match.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I feel like under Triple H, the Intercontinental title has been elevated once again. It almost as if it felt like it fell by the wayside. It really wasn't as important of a title like it used to be. But now Gunther, being the longest reigning champion in the 21st century, has really carried that title well. I know a lot of, from what I'm reading on dirt sheets or whatever, a lot of the higher ups love him. I'm a huge fan of Gunther. I think he's fantastic. That match, by the time they were done, everybody had a red chest from taking chops.
Yeah.
Really fun stuff. Fun match. Brutal match.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good match. Probably one of two that stole the show.
Absolutely. And I think the other one that stole the show, and John, you were talking about this one as well, was the Hell in the Cell match, the Demon Finn Balor and Edge. Now, if you have had a chance to take a look at he took a shot off the ladder, Finn Balor did. Edge rammed the ladder to his head. He was busted open. They had to pause the match for a little bit because he was bleeding pretty bad. And at first I'm thinking, come on, WWE, just let him go. Let him bleed. They don't want the blood. But then they ended up showing a picture of Finn Balor afterwards. I should have sent it. I should have had it ready for the show. But he basically had it was like this.
Yeah,
it was huge.
Yeah.
Unbelievable gash. So he had got a shitload of stitches put in his head. So, yeah, good idea to pause the match and get him sewn up because he was, well, not sewn up there, but at least patched up because that was pretty brutal.
Yeah, but man, you gotta see how that Edge entrance. I wish he would have came down to ramp in that whole gear alone.
Yes, yeah, very cool though. They incorporated the Brood with that a little bit, and kind of like two demons going at it, so to speak. And that Hell in the Cell match was really great. Overall, WrestleMania I thought was a great show. Again, I felt a little deflated at the end. The end of night one was perfect. Like I said, the tag titles switched over. The other thing too, though. I didn't notice a lot of like legend returns. I mean, we saw Shane McMahon come back. He blew his
Oh,
quad out,
was
middle of that
terrible.
segment. Snoop Dogg saving the day. You gotta love that. But no Rock, no Stone Cold, no Hulkster, no Taker. I mean, I was a little surprised we didn't see any legends show up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I know. I mean, WWF, from McMahon Sr. to McMahon Jr. should be Stephanie, Triple H, and Shane running the show forever down the road.
Ideally, yeah.
Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. But hey, we'll see where things go. Again, it could get a little unpredictable here now that Vince McMahon and his weird mustache are back into the the guy's
What
making
the-
bad decisions on his face at this point, let
Yeah,
alone
I see that on Eric Bischoff's podcast. It's like all over everybody's podcast. That McMahon picture.
Yeah, why
somebody
she-
compared him to Roy Wally from National Lampoon's Vacation. At the end there, he's like
Yes.
Roy Wally shows up with the thin mustache.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like him, yeah. So, like I said, we'll see where that all goes now with Vince McMahon back in the fold, and now with Endeavor taking over the company at this point, which is very, very interesting. So,
Interesting.
and of course, the WWE draft, as they start to do that, we'll talk about that in the weeks to come, see who gets drafted where and what they're going to do with the title belts, if they're going to split them. We'll see. But guys, as we wrap up here, I know we got some other things to tend to here before we wrap up the show. John, any public service announcements that you have there?
Yeah, this month has a lot of good awareness. We have Autism Awareness Month, we have Child Abuse Awareness Month, and we also have Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'm going to concentrate on that for this one, but all three are obviously probably one of the big. When you have all these awarenesses, that this month is probably one of the biggest ones. April. This is RAIN, 1-800-656-HOPE, 1-800-656-HOPE. If you're somebody who's ever been affected in this way, and even if it was 35, 40 years ago, if you're the loved one of someone who's ever been affected this way, 1-800-656-HOPE or online, RAIN with 2Ns.org would be where to go. They are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's hard, I'm going to tell you. So when this stuff comes up, it's difficult. You need help. That's the place to go. So please, 1-800-656-HOPE.
Perfect. And Chris, did you want to mention any of the other outlets where you can find us on Falls Count Anywhere besides Facebook?
Of course, yes. We'd like to thank our viewers across all our platforms for over this year and a half of us being with you. And Facebook is our home, of course. And also John on our YouTube page. Our Friends with the Z Media Network is not just our show here, Falls Count Anywhere, but all of our other shows with John and Sports Show. And my 21-year-old son also coming out with Otaku Gamers.
Nice.
Some stuff coming up with that. And
Very cool.
yeah, all that should be very interesting coming up only on our YouTube channel. And we're up to 39, so we thank you all. Also on our Twitter, @Count Anywhere is also doing very well. We thank you on Twitter and all our followers, and of course on Spotify as well. And John, tell our viewers about our stars.
Yes, please. As you're watching this now, you'll see where you could the stars. Well, stars, if you pay 99 cents, you give us 100 stars. The stars are big for us on Facebook because it gives us a little more opportunity for more advertising. The 99 cents is good for us because it keeps everything going as far as our technology. We appreciate it. We've had a lot of people give stars. Really cool. I thank you all. You've done amazing. I can't believe it. But it's our way of keeping everything going and to do future things, future maybe events we can do. But if you like our shows and you love it and everything else, give us some stars.
Absolutely. Give us a follow on that Falls Count Anywhere page on Facebook as well. If you haven't, if you're following, if you're watching the show, go ahead and click like so we get the follow as well. And we appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out, even if it's just for a couple minutes. So, guys, as we wrap up here, have a great Easter weekend. Enjoy the festivities that come with that. And then, of course, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, we have some guests, of course, lined up on the pipeline here, and we'll let you know who those individuals are as we go along here. But guys, again, have a great weekend, and thanks so much for hanging out. And again, thank you to Wes Maidment for today's show, and take care, guys.
Yes, thank you.